The candlelight flickered across our anniversary dinner table as I raised my glass to the man I loved more than life itself. To forever, I whispered. Daniel smiled that perfect smile. Until his phone buzzed, he glanced at it, and for a split second his face went pale. He deleted the message instantly. That was the moment everything changed. Because the preview I caught said, "She's getting too close. You know what we have to do." My name is Elena Vargas. 2 years ago I was a struggling graphic designer in Miami when Daniel Rivera walked into my life like a dream. Tall, successful architect, kind eyes, and a way of making me feel like the only woman in the world. We married 6 months later in a beach ceremony that made my friends cry happy tears. Everyone said I was the luckiest woman alive. Until that anniversary night, the next morning, I tried to brush it off. Maybe it was work stress. Daniel had been distant with me, working late on a big project. But when I hugged him goodbye, I smelled a woman's perfume on his collar. Sweet, expensive, nothing like mine. That unanswered question burned in my chest. Whose scent is that? I decided to surprise him at his office with lunch. When I walked in, his assistant looked nervous. "He's in a meeting," she said quickly, but I heard his voice from the conference room. "Don't worry, Elena suspects nothing. The plan is still on." My heart stopped. I left without being seen, hands shaking. That night Daniel came home with flowers and acted like the perfect husband. I smiled through dinner while my mind screamed. What plan? Started noticing little things. Passwords changed on his laptop, a locked drawer in his study, late night calls he took in the bathroom. One night I waited until he slept and carefully opened the drawer with a hairpin. Inside was a photo of a beautiful woman I didn't recognize, and a marriage certificate from 5 years ago. His name, her name, I nearly vomited. The woman in the photo looked exactly like me. Same eyes, same smile, but the date was long before we met. Who was she, and why did Daniel marry me? The next day, I hired a private investigator. 3 days later, he sent me a file that destroyed my world. Daniel wasn't just married before, his first wife had died under mysterious circumstances. The insurance payout was millions. And the woman in the photo, she was my half-sister I never knew existed. My father had a secret family. Daniel had been looking for me for years. I was never the love of his life. I was the replacement, the new target. I confronted my best friend Sophia, the only person I trusted. She cried with me, held me, promised to help. "We'll get evidence. We'll destroy him," she said. For 2 weeks we gathered proof together. Bank transfers, old emails, photos, until I found messages between Daniel and Sophia going back 8 months. She wasn't helping me. She was helping him keep me calm while they prepared to make my accident look natural. The betrayal cut deeper than anything Daniel had done. My own best friend. How long had they been laughing at me? I thought I had hit rock bottom. Then came the biggest shock. While searching Daniel's hidden safe, the combination was my birthday. How sick. I found documents proving Daniel wasn't just an architect. He was the secret majority owner of the company that had ruined my father's business years ago. The same company that left my family broke, and the inheritance my father left me before he died. Daniel had been slowly stealing it through fake investments. I wasn't just a replacement wife. I was revenge for something my father did to his family decades ago. A generational vendetta. And I was the final payment. Daniel sensed something was wrong. He became controlling, loving, then threatening. One night, he cornered me in the kitchen. "You've been digging, Elena. That's dangerous." His eyes were ice cold. The next day, Sophia accidentally spilled coffee on my laptop, destroying most of my evidence. Daniel celebrated by taking me to the same restaurant where he proposed, smiling like he had already won. I felt powerless. They had the money, the connections, the perfect story. I was just the crazy, jealous wife. But I had made one friend in all this darkness, the private investigator. He believed me. And he found the final piece, a video from the night Daniel's first wife died. It wasn't an accident. Daniel had drugged her. More importantly, the investigator discovered something Daniel didn't know. My half-sister had a child before she died, a son, and that son had been watching Daniel for years, waiting for the perfect moment. He contacted me that night. His name was Marcus, and he wanted the same thing I did. The company's annual gala was the perfect stage. Daniel was receiving an award for outstanding contribution to architecture. Sophia was by his side as his loyal assistant. I walked in wearing the red dress he once said made me look unstoppable. The room went silent when I stepped onto the stage uninvited. "Congratulations, husband," I said into the microphone, voice steady. "But before you accept that award, I think everyone should see the real you." The giant screen behind me lit up with the video of Daniel poisoning his first wife. Gasps filled the room. Then came the documents, the fake marriage, the stolen inheritance, the plot to kill me. But the final blow. Marcus walked onto the stage. He looked exactly like Daniel. Turns out, my half-sister's son was Daniel's biological son from a relationship before the first marriage. Daniel had abandoned him. The boy he never knew had grown up to become the hacker who leaked everything. Daniel's own blood had betrayed him. Daniel tried to run. Security stopped him. Sophia broke down crying, confessing everything on camera, hoping for mercy. I stood there as cameras flashed and guests recorded. The man who took everything from me was publicly destroyed. His reputation, his freedom, his empire, gone in minutes. I looked him in the eyes and said, "You wanted revenge on my family. Now your own family finished you." Daniel went to prison. The courts returned everything he stole. Marcus and I used part of the money to start a foundation helping women escape abusive marriages. Sophia lost everything to last. I heard she was working minimum wage, looking over her shoulder every day. I stood on the same beach where I once said I do, now alone but finally free. The waves whispered something I'll never forget. Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, patient, and perfectly timed. And the biggest twist, I never told Daniel the full truth. I was pregnant with his child when I exposed him. He'll spend the rest of his life in a cell knowing his legacy continues. In the hands of the woman who destroyed him. 3 months after the gala, I thought the nightmare was over. Daniel was behind bars awaiting trial. The media called me the wife who brought down an empire. I moved into a quiet beach house with the inheritance that was finally mine. Marcus became the brother I never knew I needed. We spent evenings talking about our mothers, healing old wounds. But one rainy afternoon, a letter arrived with no return address. Inside was a single photo, Daniel smiling in his prison cell, holding an ultrasound picture. My ultrasound, how did he know about the baby? Who was still helping him from the outside? Hired new security and changed my number, but the threats kept coming. Anonymous calls at 3 a.m., whispering, "He's not finished with you." Marcus discovered that Daniel had transferred millions to an offshore account right before his arrest, money no one could trace. Worse, Sophia was released on bail. She claimed she was a victim too, and was now playing the poor, manipulated woman in the press. I started having nightmares. In one, Daniel stood over my hospital bed, holding our newborn. The question haunted me every night, is my baby safe? I decided to visit Daniel in prison. Not for closure, for answers. He looked thinner, but his eyes still burned with that cold arrogance. "You think you won?" He sneered through the glass. "Everything you have is built on my plan, even that child." He refused to say more, but as I left, a guard slipped me a note. It was from another inmate. "Daniel has a partner on the outside, someone closer than you think. Watch your back." My hands trembled. Closer than Marcus, closer than my own blood. Back home, I went through old boxers from my father's things. Hidden in a false bottom was a diary. My father had written about a business partner who betrayed him, a man named Rivera. Daniel's father, but the real shock came on the last page. My father had known about Daniel's plan from the beginning. He had arranged for me to meet Daniel. He sacrificed me to destroy the Rivera family. My own father had used me as bait. Was my entire life a lie? Marcus found me crying over the diary. When I showed him, his face changed. He admitted he had known about the generational feud for years, but he swore he was on my side. That night, Sophia showed up at my door, soaked from the rain, begging for forgiveness. "Daniel forced me," she cried. "He threatened my family." I almost believed her, until I saw the small camera hidden in her necklace. She was still working for him. I let her in, pretended to forgive her. Over tea, she slipped something into my drink. I only pretended to drink it. When she left, I followed her to an abandoned warehouse outside the city. Inside, Daniel's father, the man I thought was dead, was waiting. He was the secret CEO behind everything. The empire never fell. It simply changed hands. They were planning to take the baby after birth and disappear. My child was never going to be mine. I recorded everything on my phone and sent it to Marcus. But when I got home, Marcus was gone. His apartment was empty. The only thing left was a note. "I'm sorry, Alina, blood is thicker than water. We'll raise the child right." My brother had been playing the long game too. He wanted the Rivera fortune and revenge on Daniel by taking everything from him, including me and the baby. I collapsed on the floor, screaming. Everyone I trusted had betrayed me. Alone and desperate, I went to the only person who had helped me before, the private investigator. He revealed his real identity. He was my father's old lawyer, the one man who refused to participate in the original plan. He had been protecting me from the shadows for years. Together, we built a new trap. This time, I would use their greed against them. Publicly announced, I was dropping all charges against Daniel for the sake of our child. The media ate it up. Daniel was released on a technicality. Sophia and Marcus welcomed him like a hero. They thought I had broken, but on the night, they all gathered at the old family mansion to celebrate. I walked in with cameras rolling and federal agents behind me. The offshore accounts, the murder evidence, the kidnapping plot, everything. The biggest revelation hit when the agents arrested all three. Daniel's father pulled out a gun, but Marcus turned on him at the last second, revealing he had been working undercover with the investigator the whole time. He never planned to take my baby. It was an act to gain their trust. The room exploded in chaos. Daniel lunged at me, screaming that I ruined his bloodline. I looked him dead in the eyes and said, "Your bloodline ends with you." The trial was the most watched in the state's history. Sophia testified against everyone for a reduced sentence. Marcus received immunity. Daniel's father died in custody before the verdict. Daniel got life without parole. As he was led away, he looked back at me one last time. For the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. Gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. I named her Sophia, not after my old friend, but after the word for wisdom. She would grow up knowing the truth, but also knowing strength. Marcus became her godfather. The investigator became like a grandfather. We rebuilt our lives far away from Miami, in a small coastal town where the ocean washed away the past. One quiet evening, as I watched my daughter take her first steps on the sand, a letter arrived. It was from Daniel. Only 4 words. "You were never the replacement." I burned it without opening the rest. Some secrets are better left in the dark. I finally understood the real truth. Revenge isn't just destroying your enemies. It's choosing to live, to love, and to raise the next generation better than they ever could. And as the sun set over the waves, I whispered to my daughter the words I wished someone had told me. "You are not a pawn. You are the queen." The end. Call to action. If this story touched your heart or shocked you, smash that like button. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new emotional roller coaster. Drop a comment. Would you forgive or get revenge? Share with someone who needs to hear this story. Your support keeps these stories coming.